The NBA Strategy Show. It is Monday, December 30th, 2019. One more day until the turn of the decade. I'm Dave Loughran. With me, Adam Scherer. We've got ourselves a 6-game NBA slate today. A lot to touch on. A lot of players who, depending on their status, could shake everything up. We'll get into all of that. But before we do, you know what time it is. It is time to talk about our sponsor of the Deeper Dive, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, home of $50,000 baller. Now, I was going to say the $150,000 baller, but football regular season is over. Actually, Adam, they do have a $150,000 baller this weekend. Oh, snap. All right. So pulling out all the punches over there at Yahoo, and you can get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points, those wonderful, delicious YSRPs, simply by signing up through us at awesemo.com. We'll have one of our fantastic social media guys drop the link into the YouTube chat to the article. It's a free article, Cash Building Blocks. At the bottom of that, you'll see the link. Click it. Use the sign-up code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, and get your $30 in YSRPs. Upon depositing, they're as good as cash to be used on the site to play and win real money. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. Without further ado, what's happening, brother?
How's it going, man? Feels like it's been a while. I guess I don't know. Did we do shows? Did we do shows together recently?
I think. Did you fill in for Josh on the Friday strategy show?
No,
Thursday.
Yeah. We did two shows together Thursday.
I filled in for Josh. We did 2 shows together. So yeah, we haven't done anything since. I told you, I was like, man, I got so lucky because usually after a holiday, you know, there's like a 14-game slate, right? You always have that happen. But that wasn't the case on Thursday or on Friday. And then you got hung with a 13-game slate on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday was a ton of fun for me. I wish I could do that every day.
You want to run that back each and every day, huh? Anyway, we're glad to have all of you guys and girls with us, as always. I still feel like shit. I'm just being honest. So I'm going to do my best here because that's what we do. You got to be professional. If I was professional, I probably wouldn't have even mentioned it, but here we are. I just watched Uncut Gems today, and it was a wild movie. The one with Adam Sandler.
Yeah. I plan on actually watching that, which is unusual.
And I generally it's what people either love it or hate it because basically you feel like you need 3 Xanny bars just to get through it because of the anxiety. But I'll tell you what, man, Adam Sandler sweating these bets, like making $100,000+ parlays, and I'm not spoiling anything. Watching him sweat this, you feel like you're there. And obviously you and I know the feeling of sweating something when it comes down to the wire, whether it's a bet or DFS. So it's palpable. Like you feel it. And for the people like us and people watching this, a lot of people message me on Twitter or tweeted me and they're like, yeah, I didn't like it. Other people said it's the best movie of 2019. So as someone put it, the reviews are very binary. I want to know what you think of it after you watch it, though.
Yeah, definitely on my list of stuff to do. But I'd seen the same thing as I'd seen the same kind of takes where people either really loved it or really didn't.
So check this out. Shawn Michael just won $50K on DK last night. Said appreciate your guys' daily content, and he just super chatted us $100, man, before the show even started. Appreciate that, dude. Big time. That's awesome. And congratulations. Phenomenal takedown. $50K. I didn't play any NBA yesterday, but glad to see Shawn Michael did. And we really appreciate it. All right. Thoughts on the slate? The injuries here are just kind of wild. I thought because of the line, I mean, Milwaukee was a 6-point road favorite that Giannis would be out, but he's available to play. Trae Young is out. Karl Anthony Towns is still dealing with that ailing knee. He's questionable. Kyrie Irving's out. And Brad Beal is also questionable with a calf injury, which means that of all of the guys above 9K today, Adam, you have Giannis who's available. I wish they would just say he's playing. And then Andre Drummond. No one else is without a injury designation.
Yeah, really tough slate to feel. Or I guess just like a lot of moving parts. Beal obviously has huge ramifications, as do Wiggins and Towns. So, yeah, a lot of news to keep an eye on for the next couple hours.
All right. Any initial thoughts?
I think that pricing today is pretty soft, so you're going to be able to make really highly projected lineups. Obviously, you want to just make sure that you're being contrarian within those lineups. I think that the mid-range gives you some opportunities to make some pivots just because there are so many good and underpriced plays.
All right, let's get into it. And yeah, Miami Mike, the parlay that started with winning the opening tip in that game was insane. I hear you. Just unbelievable. I felt like I was there, which just made me so uncomfortable, but in the greatest of ways. So you guys tweet at me. Let me know what you think at Laffy_D. Well, my Twitter handle is right there above my head. Washington and Miami. We got 6 games here. We'll kick it off with this one, Adam. The Miami Heat are 8.5-point favorites on the road, 227.5 total. Washington 8.5-point dogs, as I mentioned, 109.8 implied for them, 118 for the Miami Heat. We need to start with DraftKings though, because usually this season they've done a pretty good job in general with pricing. What happened with these Miami players today?
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I mean, it's a road game at Washington. You assume it's an 8-point spread. You assume the Wizards hang in the game enough that you're getting close to full minutes from Miami. Pace up spot, a really bad defensive team. Washington, obviously, the worst defense in the league over the last 30 days by a very, very wide margin. And then you're just getting insane pricing on guys like Butler and Bam Adebayo and even the backcourt where you're seeing minutes, kind of shared by guys like Nunn and Dragic. Even their pricing is really really friendly.
It really is. This isn't to say that I love the entire Miami team, but it's Butler at 7,800, Bam Adebayo weighing in at 7,600, Goran Dragic at 5,200. And yes, Josh, it drives me nuts when you call him Dragic all the time. I can't take it. And I finally hit a boiling point. Love Josh, hate his pronunciation of Dragic. But anyway, tell me you haven't noticed it. You've noticed it.
I don't think I had.
Oh, damn it. So I'm the only asshole. What are your thoughts on this Miami team in terms of prioritizing them? If you look at our strategy syllabus, which is over there on awesemo.com, today, I believe it's free. I think today's free content. Yeah, the NBA strategy syllabus is free, where all of us provide some insight into the slate in an easily digestible way. A couple of people, EMAC being one of them, I think, with the favorite cash player, basically put 3 players from Miami. So that's where a lot of us are out on this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense too. I ran a crunch for DraftKings right before the show using our current ownership projections and getting a ton of Butler, getting a ton of Bam, getting a ton of Dragic. Just really, really cheap price points. I mean, Bam Adebayo has played at least 36 minutes in 8 of his last 10 games. He's played 40 minutes more often than he's played less than 36 over that stretch. It's not even like it would be surprising if he triple-doubled tonight in this spot. The Wizards, obviously a terrible defensive team. They've allowed the 6th most rebounds per game over the last month as well. Just so many ways for Bam to get there. Butler's playing 34, 35 minutes in competitive games, about a 27% usage rate over the last month. It's obviously a really good spot for him. And then Goran Dragic has been playing around 30 minutes. We have him projected for about 15% ownership on DraftKings. I got way above that as well.
Okay. Now, what about the rest of the squad? You had mentioned a couple of them, but if you're digging into the rest of the Miami Heat, is there anything that really stands out to you outside of the big 3?
Not really. I mean, you can take shots on guys like Kendrick Nunn just because he's really cheap, but I'd give the edge to Dragic just because he normally is going to play a little bit more coming off the bench, and it's not like the ownership is through the roof on him. So Butler, Bam, and Dragic are the 3 priorities for me, and then everyone else, kind of falls off. One thing that I did notice that was interesting was that Meyers Leonard played 30 minutes, essentially in 3 quarters in Miami's most recent game. I'm not expecting that again here. That was a game against Philadelphia where, Philadelphia has a really big team. And a lot of times we see coaches, match up with them and play kind of different rotations than normal against a much smaller Washington team. I'd be surprised if you got a bunch of minutes from Meyers Leonard. I'm expecting it to go back to the normal, 20 to 22 minutes.
Well, the thing is, though, that isn't really normal because he was playing 15 to 16 before, and now Now he was playing like basically the entire first and third quarter, even before that 30-minute game. Kind of weird.
Yeah, his minutes had been trending up a little bit anyway. But yeah, I'm expecting it to be, low 20s, not 30.
Okay. Yeah, I would say I think I put him at 21, but I don't like on a per minute basis. Do you get enough out of him, out of Meyers Leonard to consider him?
I don't really think so. I mean, the only thing that would make him appealing, like if you were expecting 30 minutes against the Wizards for a guy at that price point, you could have some interest. But like I said, I'm only expecting, around 21, 22 minutes. And it's not like he's a very productive player when he's on the floor. So I'm not expecting to get to him.
If I was projecting 30 minutes against the Wizards, I'd probably have quite a bit. What about the Washington side? The Beal news is huge because if Beal sits, I will have like legitimate interest in Isaiah Thomas, who got up 21 shots with Beal off the court last time out. Should easily be a 30% usage type guy if he's out, given that everyone else, Bertens is out, Bryant, Rui, Wagner, all of those guys are out. Not all of them high usage players, but many that would be if Beal was off the floor are all off or all out. So I think Thomas and Troy Brown are going to have to shoulder a pretty significant workload here in the event that Beal sits.
Yeah, I agree with you. The pricing on the Wizards isn't great, but I would agree that a $5,400 Isaiah Thomas would be fine. Should play around 30 minutes if Beal is out. Had a 35% usage rate last game. It is a tough matchup against Miami, so I still don't know that I would prefer him over someone like Dragic or from a later game, potentially Jeff Teague if Wiggins is out, but it would certainly put him in play. The prices have jumped a bit on Gary Payton, Jordan Mccray. Mccray played 30 minutes. Payton played about 30 minutes. You got 37 minutes from Troy Brown. If Beal's out, I think the two guys I like the most would be Brown and Isaiah, but it's still tough to prioritize guys against Miami in the spot, I think.
Yeah, I don't like it much at all. I do, and I think I was a little bit higher on him than you and Josh. If Beal is out, Isaiah Thomas is someone that I don't want to call him a priority, but I definitely think he's not too overpriced. $5,400 on DraftKings isn't unreasonable, and no matter how bad. And by the way, 40 or not 40 on FanDuel, he's what 4,700. I just think those are really solid price points, and I would definitely get to him. But outside of that, I don't really know if I want to pay the increased price on Troy Brown. For me, it's mostly Isaiah Thomas and then the Heat. Anything else from this game?
No.
Okay. Keep it moving. Oh, yeah, and by the way, on Yahoo, Isaiah Thomas is 18, so not crazy. But there's also always a lot of good value there, so you have to be careful that someone might look like quality value, but compared to other players, really isn't. Orlando and Atlanta. Here's an interesting one. Is that lemon lime?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's the best Gatorade. It's the only one I like. I don't think I can tell that story. Never mind. I really want to. Put it this way. One time I was partying in high school and went to take a sip of lemon lime Gatorade, and it wasn't Gatorade.
That doesn't sound good.
Oh, worst night of my life. Thank God I didn't remember most of it. Orlando and Atlanta, 208.5 total. Magic, 10.5 point favorites. Trae Young is out, which means that this team's going to be really bad. I mentioned this on the strategy show today, and then I will let you take over here. The Atlanta Hawks without Trae Young on the floor have a 104.9 defensive rating, 115.6 with him on the floor. Offensive rating, however, 107 with him on, 91 with him off. So they're 16 points per 100 possessions better offensively with him on the floor. They are 11 points per 100 possessions worse with him off the floor. So it's still a net positive, but my God, does that not just exemplify how great he's been offensively and how dismal he's been on defense all season long?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Obviously a bad defender, but really, really insane to see the numbers like that.
Okay. Madden King, talk about the games, not life stories. Yeah, you're at the wrong place, fella. We get all of these games in and still, once in a while, have some fun conversations. and Drew Williams. I spit it out immediately. But yes, that's exactly what I just admitted to doing. All right.
So you didn't swallow?
Okay, listen. It was Gatorade. Orlando Magic. You would think this would be a highly appealing spot, but I don't know how appealing it actually is. I'll let you answer this question, but like Vooch is sub 8K. Jonathan Isaac is pretty friendly. The big thing here though is that Aaron Gordon with that Achilles is out, so that does mix things up a bit. I don't believe we've gotten the starting lineup yet, right?
We just got it.
We just got it. Okay.
Yeah, Fultz, Fournier, Iwundu, Isaac. Vooch.
Okay, so that's what we expected it to be. And Iwundu, not exactly a premier point per minute guy, but I would assume Isaac just gets like all of his minutes should be, at the 4. And then Terrence Ross gets some additional run. Iwundu, plays, what do you have him at, like 25 minutes or something?
28
minutes. Man, he is not a good producer though.
He's not, but I mean, he has 3,200 on DraftKings facing the Hawks.
And it's the Hawks. Yeah, go ahead.
So I mean, Iwundu isn't someone that you're excited about. It's more about what else he gets you in the lineup. So he's fine as a value, but much less exciting than someone, say, like Christian Wood, that actually produces at a high rate when he's on the floor. I think the most appealing piece for me from Orlando is Vooch. It's just a really favorable spot against a really bad defensive team. Really bad rebounding team. They've allowed the most rebounds per game over the last 30 days. Vooch is 9th in the NBA in rebounds per game. So obviously a good spot there. The one thing, I guess, negative to point out is that there are several similar center options in terms of salary. And Vooch normally in competitive games is going to play 33, 34 minutes, whereas you have someone like Bam at the same price point that's playing 36 plus. You have Whiteside who is playing, around 33 as well. So I think amongst those center options, a lot will come down to ownership for me. I think Bam's my preferred option because of how many minutes, but it is obviously a really good spot for Vooch. Beyond that, you should get some more playing time for Terrence Ross with Gordon out. Obviously, we talked about the minutes for Iwundu. I think that Isaac maybe plays a couple more minutes as well, but Vooch is the one Orlando guy that really stands out to me.
Yeah, me too. I think he's your top option here. I feel like when it comes to Jonathan Isaac, his price is reasonable enough, and the stock upside for him, steals plus blocks, is absurd. I mean, it's really nuts. You look at just take his last 4 games, for example, because I want to just give you an idea of what type of production you can get, especially in a big time pace up spot against the Hawks, who don't see really any pace decrease or increase with Trae Young off the floor. That's worth keeping in mind. He has 16 steals and 9 blocks over his last 4 games. That's absurd.
Yeah, and obviously makes him more valuable on FanDuel, where small forward's normally not a great position, and you get more points for stocks.
For sure. I mean, I have to wonder how much does ownership factor in for you here. Isaac basically coming in with like a middle of the road ownership at 13%.
Yeah, in the crunch that I did right before the show, I was actually underweight on Isaac, but I think my projection on him might have been a little bit low. I was actually rerunning that as we talked about it, because I think I'd get a little bit more than I got, but I still think I'd end up, at least on DraftKings, a little bit below the 13%, just because the positions don't matter as much as it does on FanDuel.
Okay. Elroy Jenkins asks, excuse me. Where is it? Come on. Don't do me. He says, having similar prices, would you guys prefer Isaac or Oubre on DraftKings? It's a good question.
Yeah. I'm trying to look. I think, Oubre plays more minutes. Not as good a matchup for Oubre, but I think I'd give the slight edge to Isaac.
Okay, and if you want to push it over the top, the Atlanta Hawks are allowing more steals to opponents than any other team in the league this season, and the second most, their shot has been blocked the second most in the entire league. So most steals allowed to opponents north of 9 per game. The Atlanta Hawks on the turnover front are the lead the league with 17.1 turnovers per game, and they've been blocked against 6.8 times per game. So the most turnovers, the second most blocks against. That's real nice for Jonathan Isaac, and I'll definitely keep that in mind when building lineups tonight. Anything else for the Magic you want to touch on before we move to the Hawks?
No, but Bradley Beal just got ruled out.
Oh, there you have it. But I mean, I've told you where I'm at. I think Thomas is solid. Brown's okay. The rest of this team, I don't have much interest in. Do you want to circle back? Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think we talked about it.
Okay. Anything you said? Nothing else for Orlando. How about the Atlanta Hawks? You would think when a guy like Trae Young is ruled out, right? A 35% usage guy that's playing 35 plus minutes every single night, has a 40% assist rate, 30+% usage. You would think that this would free things up for this, entire team to become ridiculously friendly from a fantasy standpoint. That isn't really the case today.
No, I think there's a couple things working against them. For one, it's a tough matchup against a slow Orlando team, but they run a really deep rotation. So it's not like you're taking Trae Young's 37 minutes and just kind of reallocating it to one or two guys. Plus, he's a really good facilitator. So he helps with the efficiency of some guys, and not having him out there kind of can have a net, kind of like a neutral effect, where even if you're getting a little bit more usage for some of these other players, they're not as efficient. So I think that the main negative for me is just the rotation. I mean, against Chicago in their last game, they played, it looks like 12 guys, and 11 of them played in double digits in minutes. So the team leader in minutes was Collins at 33, Hunter played 30, and other than that, nobody even reached 30 minutes.
How much are you worried about this game getting wildly out of control?
I think it's reasonably likely. It's not really changing. It's not changing anything for me, but I think that it's certainly a legitimate concern.
What about the Wizards in Miami game?
I'd be less surprised about that one just because it is in Washington. I mean, obviously Miami's 8-point road favorite, so there is a chance. But if the game were in Miami, I'd be more concerned about it.
Okay, so like Herder on fan. Do we have an Atlanta lineup?
I haven't seen one.
I didn't see one either. I wasn't sure if I missed it. But do you think Herder starts at the point?
Yeah, he did last game.
Yeah, so assuming he starts at the point again, do you think on Yahoo where he's $13 that's viable?
It's viable, but like you mentioned earlier when you were talking about Isaiah Thomas, there's just so many good cheap plays that I still don't know that it really stands out. Like Terrence Ross, for example, is $10 on the other side of this game.
Yep. No, it's a great point. In a much better spot. Do you want to hit on anything else?
No, Atlanta is one of the most unappealing teams on the slate.
They absolutely are. Minnesota and Brooklyn. Let's get into this one. The Minnesota Timberwolves at home are 4-point dogs, 218 over under here. 111 implied total for Brooklyn, 107 for Minnesota. First of all, we got to start with Minnesota and try to, in some way, break down the injuries here. Karl Anthony Towns is something you've pointed out. This guy doesn't miss games, but this has to be the first time in his career he's missed like this many consecutive games, right? I don't even think it's close. It's got to be. Yeah.
I mean, he had missed, I think, 5 games in his entire career or something.
Right. And he's been out, 6 straight games? So,
yeah.
I mean, that's not – there's clearly something going on here. The sprained left knee. We've seen that hold players out for quite some time. But it's not only him. You have Andrew Wiggins questionable with an illness. Dude, my whole neighborhood is sick. Like ear infections, sinus infections, chest congestion, you name it. So I don't know what's going on. And across the street the other day, someone took a video. I'm serious about this. Sorry for the life stories, fella. Someone took a video and they posted on Facebook, like the neighborhood Facebook, of about 30 to 40 birds just flying. This is right in the street next to me, just flying through the air and all falling out of the air at once and dying and tweaking on the ground with blood coming out of their head.
That's interesting.
That's scary as hell or what?
Yeah, that wouldn't make me feel very good.
No, it's Terrifying, dude. It's absolutely terrifying. If anyone has any insight on why that happened, please let me know at Laffy_D. What are you doing with the Minnesota team, and how are you trying to break this down? Because right now, with the amount of question marks here, it's really tough to evaluate them.
Yeah, it really is. Also, and I mention it like every time Minnesota plays or every time guys are out, Ryan Saunders' rotations absolutely suck for DFS. Like if Towns is out, you assume you're going to get 28 to 30 minutes from Gorgie Jang, but maybe you don't. Like he played 23 against Cleveland in their last game. He's been hesitant lately to play Napier alongside Teague. So even against Cleveland when Wiggins was out, you only got 26 and a half minutes from Teague. You got 22 and a half from Napier. That kind of takes some value away from both of them. Not to say that Teague isn't still a reasonable option if Wiggins is out, but it's just really tough. Like I wish I could project 32 or 33 minutes, but you really can't with Saunders not playing them alongside each other. You got 30 minutes in that game for Keelan Martin. It's just been pretty ugly rotations. So on top of not knowing if Wiggins or Towns are going to play, you have the fact that he just doesn't really run fantasy friendly rotations. Brooklyn's also been the third most efficient defense over the last month. So that's working against them too, although this game should be played at a reasonably fast pace between two top 10 pace teams.
Okay. So what do you project for Napier?
Like 22 minutes. 22.
All right.
I wish I could give him more, but that's they had the one game, like it was 3 games ago for Napier. He missed a game in between, but where they actually played him alongside Teague and he got up to like 28 minutes, but then they've gone back to him playing 22 to 23 and not really sharing the floor with Teague much.
Right. Okay. Do you want to hit on anything else with Minnesota? And, how at this rate, how much of your lineup build and how much of what you do tonight is contingent upon this Minnesota news?
A decent amount, just because it'll give Teague a bump if Wiggins is out. And then obviously Gorgie Jang's in a reasonably good spot if Towns is out, and he's completely useless if Towns is in. So it certainly has an impact.
Okay. Stephen J, official. Appreciate you, man. Oubre or Melo, he asks.
Melo.
All right. On the Brooklyn side, Spencer Dinwiddie. I would say that price is a bit cheap on DraftKings, $7,700. It's a pretty favorable spot for him going up against this Minnesota backcourt. And look, Kyrie Irving remains out. This has been a extended hiatus for him. Spencer Dinwiddie this season, he's operating 52% of his possessions are coming out of the pick and roll. Not many players you can say the same about that. 52% of his possessions in the pick and roll. You look at Minnesota this season, how have they fared against opponents in pick and roll to ball handlers? 23 points per game. It's the third most allowed of any team in basketball. So while the efficiency hasn't been spectacular, 6 points per possession, they have really allowed a lot of points, play at an up-tempo pace, and of course, have one of the worst defensive ratings in the league. So this is a pretty favorable spot for Spencer Dinwiddie on that one category alone. Factor in, the pace and the defense, and it only makes it more appealing.
Yeah, agreed. Dinwiddie has averaged 1.24 DraftKings points per minute since the Irving injury as well. Minnesota, a bad team defensively. They play fast. I think Dinwiddie's a good option.
Okay, what about the rest of Brooklyn?
Nothing as appealing. Like I think Jarrett Allen you can get to in tournaments at low ownership, but the opportunity cost is pretty high there, especially on sites where he's a center. Obviously power forward on FanDuel makes him more appealing there, but it just gets tough to prioritize him compared to guys like Bam and Whiteside and Vooch when his minutes normally aren't in line with those guys, and they're such productive players in good matchups as well.
Sir Dave said they were eating infected avocados, talking about the birds. That's pretty good. Thanks for the super chat, Ron Rice. He says, I'm concerned with birds falling from the sky. Well, your donation to us, while much appreciated, is certainly not going to help us with the birds. Gene Smith is pleading that everyone calls me Lemon Lime. Let's see if that one sticks, Gene. Real fun. So we had a question. Why did we not touch on Covington? Do you want to circle back to Rocco here, getting considerable minutes? Hey, nobody gets more deflections than Robert Covington.
He played 35 minutes against Cleveland. I don't have a whole lot of confidence that happens again, just because minutes are kind of all over the place with this team. But 30 to 32 minutes of Covington is fine. It's just not something that really stands out. Obviously, if Wiggins is out, he becomes a little bit more appealing.
Okay. What about so do you have any interest in a guy like Jared Allen, or you just can't rely on those minutes enough?
It's tough at center because he plays fewer minutes than the other really good center options. I think he's a better play on FanDuel, where you can get him at power forward, so there's less opportunity cost.
Okay. I can't. People think you're high as shit in chat.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not.
Honestly, I even questioned it for a second there. I didn't think so. I wasn't going to say anything, but I looked up at the screen and the eyes were on droop, and I wasn't sure what was happening.
No.
But yeah, someone says, Laffy, everyone getting sick, birds falling from the sky sounds like a great place to live. Listen, I live in a wonderful neighborhood, right out in the Bucks County area, Pennsylvania. Very nice. Cold, but nice. Listen, if I don't show up to work the next couple of days, you'll know that the 5G cell towers got me, or whatever it was. Chicago, Milwaukee. We got 3 to go, Adam. I mentioned to you earlier, I was just surprised that the Bucks were 6-point favorites. They're 9-point favorites now, though. So, I don't know. It looked like Vegas. It looked like the line was suggesting Giannis was going to sit, right? 6-point favorites. I don't care where it is against the Bulls. Doesn't seem right. 9 points now, 220.5 total. And the Milwaukee Bucks have one of the highest implied totals on the slate. That makes a bit more sense. Eric Bledsoe is expected back today. Giannis Antetokounmpo is also going to play after sitting out 2 games with back soreness. We'll start with the Milwaukee side of the ball. If Giannis was out, it would have just been, all right, play Middleton, play Bledsoe, because even if Bledsoe plays 26 minutes, it's not going to matter because his rates with Giannis off the floor are outrageous. But Giannis coming back throws a wrench into the works a bit. Where are you at on the Bucks today?
Pretty uninterested because, like you said, with Giannis being back, you have guys that have been priced up from him being out. So not really that interested. Also, these are the 2 most efficient defenses over the last month. Chicago up to 2nd, Milwaukee's 1st, Chicago's 22nd in pace. It's just not a super appealing spot, on top of the fact that the salaries have come up. So I think Giannis is obviously a really good play. Not a necessity with how underpriced the mid-range is today, but certainly happy to get to him where I can. I got between 20 and 25% in my DraftKings crunch before the show. But outside of him, it doesn't seem like very favorable pricing to me on the Bucks.
Okay. Thanks for that super chat, David. We appreciate you. The Chicago side, there's not a whole lot here that I love, but I will point out, and I mentioned this in the strategy syllabus, that LaVine to me makes for a decent enough tournament play, coming in around 5% ownership on a 6-game slate, because the one spot the Bucks have really been exploited defensively is the 3-point shooting. They're pretty much very solid everywhere else. No team is holding opponents to a lower field goal percentage on the year, but the Bucks are allowing the 7th highest 3-point percentage, the most made 3-pointers per game, and they also play at a very elevated pace. So while I don't know how the efficiency is going to look for LaVine, but he is a 40% 3-point shooter. He's a 31% usage player. All of that does, to me, at least make him interesting against the Milwaukee squad that leads the entire league in pace of play. I don't imagine I'll have a ton of him, but I do, and especially because DraftKings has priced down a lot of guys, and LaVine kind of is sitting up there at 8,300. But I do think it's one of those spots where he could get going against the Bucks team that struggles in that category, where, you'll see him from time to time jack up 10, 11, 13 even threes per game. What are your thoughts on the Bulls?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with everything you said about LaVine, including the part where it's just really tough to get to him, because when you look at not even the guys that are underpriced, below him, but he's basically the same salary as Donovan Mitchell. He's really close in salary to Damian Lillard. He's more expensive than Jimmy Butler and Spencer Dinwiddie. So it just makes it really tough. Like, even when you factor in the ownership, when you look at his likelihood of success relative to those guys, I think that I would still rather be getting overweight on those guys. But it is it's not a good matchup, but for LaVine's skill set, it's more favorable than it is for most other guys on Chicago.
Okay. Thanks for that. Cool hand, Sam. He says Booker or McCollum.
McCollum.
All right. All right. So we just talked about LaVine and like, I think we're on the same page there. It is a spot where you could see him putting up numbers, but it's not like he's priced similarly to these other guys who are underpriced, which makes it difficult. And now Brad Beal's out. It opens things up for like a cheaper Isaiah Thomas too. I don't hate him in tournaments, but I think, and it wouldn't take a lot to get over the field on like he's 4 or 5%. But the rest of Chicago is pretty unappealing. Is there anything here for the Bulls that you want to discuss?
There is not. Just a pretty unappealing spot for me on a slate where there are a lot of plays I actually like.
Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about the Utah Jazz and the Detroit Pistons. I was pretty surprised to see Bojan Bogdanovic getting that type of ownership. I know the minutes are there, which is fine, but he kind of is who we know. He is who he is. It's not, and I know it's just incredible analysis there. He's what I mean is you get your 35 fantasy points from him and you're happy. And I think this is one of those slates where I don't know how much you need that, but nevertheless, 217.5 over under. Jazz are 9-point favorites, and Blake Griffin not expected to play in this one. Starting with the Utah Jazz, and to mention too that Jordan Clarkson played 25 minutes last game. Kind of interesting. They do need to inject some scoring off the bench, and he is somebody that can make that happen. But we'll start with guys like Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. We can talk Bogdanovic as well, but I definitely want to get to Mitchell first because I kind of feel like he's in the similar category to Zach LaVine is on DraftKings at that $8,400 price point. When you have, Butler and Dinwiddie and a number of guys that are in the 7K range.
Yeah, I like Mitchell a little bit more than LaVine, but he's projected for like 8% ownership on DraftKings. He's someone that I would expect to be over the field on. I would just, I think that it's a good spot for him. Detroit's not a very good defense. Mitchell, since Conley originally was injured at the beginning of December, has about a 33% usage rate, an assist percentage north of 20%. He's playing 35, 36 minutes in competitive games. Quinn Snyder tends to run his guys out there, kind of regardless of score, pretty deep into the fourth quarter too at home, which is nice. And he's still playing with the second unit as well. So a lot working in Mitchell's favor. The only thing kind of keeping his exposure in check for me is that he is basically the same price as Lillard. He's more expensive than, Jimmy Butler and Dinwiddie and some other guys. So I think he's a good tournament option. He's not someone I'm getting to in cash games just because of the salary compared to other guys around them.
Yeah, and we'll get to Whiteside in a moment, who specifically on DraftKings, that's just a broken price. It's entirely broken. Rudy Gobert has played great basketball lately, though, and he's the type of guy that you're never going to rely on to get you where you need to go as a scorer, but you're going to get your monster double-doubles from him. You're going to get a handful of blocks, and that's kind of what you get with Gobert each and every day. But one of the big things is the minutes. I mean, he has played 36-plus minutes in 8 straight games, Adam, and I believe something that you've mentioned to me before on this show, Quinn Snyder is not afraid to run his starters a little bit longer at home if the game gets out of hand. I don't know how much that's held up this year, but Gobert at 8K on DraftKings is, again, we got to compare it to Whiteside, but 8K on DraftKings, $8,500 on FanDuel, and on Yahoo you got him coming in at $37. What are your thoughts?
I think that he's fine. It's just really tough for me to get to him when you have Drummond. Like on DraftKings, he's 8K, but you have Drummond at 9,300, and then you have Bam, Whiteside, Vooch that are all cheaper. Jang is a lot cheaper as well if Towns is out. So it's really tough for me to get to Gobert, but The minutes are nice. I think that he's a little bit more appealing on FanDuel, where he's the same price as Whiteside. He's 1,100 less than Drummond. Maybe a little bit easier to get to him there.
Sometimes I come across interesting conversations in our Slack chat, and I want to circle back for a second because we got some time. It looks like there's a debate between Gary Payton II and Jeff Teague. I want to weigh in on this because, I mean, with Payton, first of all, this matchup is pretty brutal for him. Now with Beal out, I would expect that the minutes are going to be there. But you're also looking at a guy who, and this is something I want to get your opinion on too. He has 13 steals in 3 games. That's outrageous. He has 6 steals in 2 of the 3 games that he's played. He's up north of 6K on DraftKings. Jeff Teague, on the other hand, hasn't been giving you the same eye-popping numbers, but in the event, and it's an 8 p.m. tip, in the event that Wiggins sits and Towns sits, I have Teague so far ahead of Payton that isn't even funny. But I will get your opinion on this because we can settle this and go about our business.
No, I mean, I agree with you. In the 3 games Payton's played, he's averaged about 1.12 DraftKings points per minute. But when you look at how he's doing it, it's just not sustainable unless he's basically the best defensive player in the history of the NBA. He's a good defender and he should get steals, but the rate that he's been getting them at is pretty crazy. And it's not like he's been a high usage guy under these conditions either. Like the usage is going to Isaiah, it's going to Brown, it's going to Jordan Mccray when he's on the floor. So 13.7% usage for Payton over his 3 games. He's not getting a ton of assists either, playing with those guys. So to me, the price tag is a lot higher than it should be. And that's without even factoring in that he's got a tough matchup against Miami.
Now, I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt in one area. If you look at his G League numbers, I think you'll find this interesting. Last year, he averaged 3 steals per game. He averaged 3 steals per game in 2017 too. So, I mean, it's pretty. He is good at getting steals, but 6 a night is pretty crazy.
Right, exactly. I mean, he is a good defender. That's kind of like what he's best at, but 6 a night is insane.
Yeah, no, it's in the NBA. That's a ton. If he came in around 2, it would make sense. And everyone says it's in his genes. I mean, yeah, like Adam just said, good defender. But now we're getting that price tag up there. Also, wait to see on the news for Minnesota, but I would definitely expect Jeff Teague to get a ton of opportunity. If both of those guys are off the court, you remember Teague's numbers last year when Wiggins and Towns missed some games. He was spectacular. Yeah,
I mean the only question for Teague, as we mentioned, was that the minutes might still might not be there since he's not really playing alongside Napier. Right. But he's a very productive player. Like without Wiggins or Towns on the floor, he averages more points per minute than Payton has so far this season, and Teague's is actually sustainable, whereas Payton's is going to drop.
Right. Yeah. Even with some poor play, still a point per minute guy with everyone on the floor. But you're right. The minutes are the big question mark there. I think we'll wait to see on ownership too. Let's go keep moving here. Anything else for Utah? I think we hit on Gobert. We hit on Mitchell. I want to make sure we get through everyone here. You have anything else?
I think Bogdanovich is fine on DraftKings. I'm coming in right around the field, but on FanDuel, he really stands out. $5,600 small forward, should play around 35 minutes, has about a 27.5% usage rate since Conley's original injury. So I think a really good FanDuel play.
Okay. Detroit Pistons, Christian Wood. When it comes to ownership on Christian Wood, he's come down from the 70% that he was at earlier. But we've still got him on DraftKings at 56%, 27% on FanDuel is the second highest on the slate, and highest at 44.2 on Yahoo. He played pretty significant minutes last game, well, for him at least, 24 and then 23. You've got Markieff Morris out, and now Blake Griffin is also doubtful to play. So what are you projecting Wood for? And as the per-minute beast that he is, how much are you going to have today?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's obviously one of the top point per dollar options on the slate. It's a tough matchup against Utah, and also it's worth pointing out that his rates do drop when he plays alongside Andre Drummond, as you would expect. He's averaged 1.02 DraftKings points per minute with Drummond on the floor this season, compared to his overall season average is like 1.2. So I think that maybe he's getting. He's probably not as good a play as or as productive as people are giving him credit for, but at the same time, he's still one of the best values. He still lets you get a ton of other good plays into your lineup, and he's just really, really cheap. So even projecting him maybe a little bit lower than some other people, I'm still getting to tons of him.
Yeah, me too. Do you guys prefer Mccray to Ross for shooting guard value on FanDuel, Adam?
Pulling up the pricing now, but probably not.
Mccray is $4,000. Ross is $4,400.
I would rather get to Ross if I can.
Yeah, I think I would still rather get to Ross too. Ross is the type of guy that when he gets going, and look, this isn't hard-hitting analysis, but Ross is the type of player that when he starts getting going, he gets free reign to get up shots. Like you'll see him jack up 15, 17 shots when he's knocking them down. And in tournaments, that's exactly what you're playing him for. It isn't to say that Mccray can't also get some opportunities, but the matchup is way better for Ross, especially from beyond the arc. And Mccray, while he's probably going to play 30 minutes again, is still second behind Ross. But I think he's a fine value at 4K. I have no problem with Mccray.
Yeah, I agree.
Want to get the cheap value. What's up?
I agree with you. Like Mccray at 4K is a good play. I just would give the slight edge to Ross.
BK asked, is 90% wood too risky?
I don't think so. It's not like I don't think it's like a requirement just because there isn't a ton to pay up for on the slate. But if that's the route you wanted to go, I don't have any problem with it. Like he is a good per minute producer. The minutes should be there. He's really inexpensive, so it's just really difficult for him to actually hurt you at that price point. So I don't have any problem with it.
Okay. Detroit outside of Christian Wood. Luke Kennard is also out. Like I said, Blake Griffin, doubtful. Markieff Morris also out. Bruce Brown's just been a super low usage player recently. Even when he gets the minutes, you haven't seen a whole lot from him in terms of getting shots up. It's kind of disappointing given the amount of injuries that this Detroit team has been dealing with. You're just not seeing it. And then if Derrick Rose starts playing more minutes, and gets back up to like in close games, the 28, 29 that he saw, that's only going to hurt Bruce Brown more. But he is inexpensive. There are a lot of injuries. Where are you coming in on Brown and the rest of the Pistons not named Christian Wood?
For the most part, I'm not really that interested here just because it's not a great matchup against Utah. There are a lot of plays on the slate that I like. So, getting here isn't really a priority for me outside of Christian Wood, but also Andre Drummond, I think, is a strong option. Obviously, it's a really tough matchup against Gobert. Utah's allowed the 7th fewest rebounds per game over the last month, 5th fewest offensive rebounds per game. So it's a tough matchup, but 1.42 DraftKings points per minute for Drummond without Griffin on the floor this year. Should play 35, 36 minutes, assuming the game's relatively competitive. And he's just, a good player that's cheap. So getting to Drummond, getting to Christian Wood, but then not getting to much of anything else.
Dan Valvo says, even with no Blake, is Drummond worth it with the matchup?
It's obviously less appealing than it would be in almost any other matchup. And there is opportunity cost at the position as well. But that being said, I do think that he's still a good option. Like he's just underpriced for Blake being out.
Church says, Laffy, using your bird story as a means to full fade all of the Hawks tonight. That's a good one. And you wouldn't need that story to full fade all of the Hawks today. Just not in a great spot. Anything else before we move on to the last game?
I don't think so. I was just looking to see how Drummond has done against Gobert over the last couple seasons. They've played 4 times. He's averaged 1.47 DraftKings points per minute. Part of that is because he had an 83 fantasy point game in 39 minutes.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, over a fantasy point per minute, or well over 83? Fantasy in all of them. Yeah. 30 points.
Was that a 30-20 game? 30-28 or something?
30 points, 24 rebounds, 6 blocks, and 3 steals.
I remember that. Yeah. What an outrageous. Oh my God.
January 24th, 2018.
You can get that from time to time. All right. We'll get to the last game here and turn it over to our boys at Live Before Lock. What do we got coming up next? We got Josh and we got Spags on Live Before Lock taking you up till 7. Hey, if you haven't been to awesemo.com/join yet and use the sign-up code Deeper Dive, which is all one word, to get 50% off your first week of all access Awesemo Plus Platinum membership, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's a wonderful opportunity. Get the ownership projections, player projections, the lineup builder, all of our premium articles that our guys labor over day and night. The top stack tool, the boom or bust tool, great projections for all of the sports, and so much more. The sign-up code is Deeper Dive. All of the tools, by the way, developed and used every day by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself. These are the tools he actually uses for his own lineups. He's the number 1 ranked DFS player in the world. So you get an idea of whether they work or not. Deeper Dive, all one word. Use that. It gets you 50% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum membership. Head over there. And when you do, if you do sign up, be sure to hit us up in the premium Slack chat. We'll show you around. It's a friendly bunch, and talking DFS, fantasy sports all day and night over there in premium Slack. So Deeper Dive, all one word, 50% off your first week.
Friendly minus Josh.
Yes, that's actually a really good. Yes, friendly. Just try to get in there when Josh isn't in there. Portland and Phoenix. The Portland Trailblazers right now with 4.5 point favorites, 231 total. This is the highest total game of the slate. 117.8 implied for them, 113.3 for the Phoenix Suns. Starting with Portland, I mean, you cannot ignore it. Hassan Whiteside, $7,100 on DraftKings. It's the most egregious price point we've seen all season.
Yeah, I mean, he's been underpriced, and then they just dropped his price even more. He obviously was really bad 2 games ago. I think it was against Utah. I assumed he had struggled in his most recent game against the Lakers too, but he didn't. So I really have no idea how that price point got there. But he's averaging about 1.4 DraftKings points per minute since Melo joined the team. He's getting a ton of rebounds. He has a 20% usage rate over the last month. And he's playing more minutes. Also, his backup is out. Scal got hurt last game, and he's out tonight. So, potentially even more minutes, but 32 to 34, the most likely outcome for Whiteside. It's just pretty impossible for me not to think he's one of the best plays on the slate. It is worth mentioning that over the last month, Phoenix has allowed the 15th most rebounds per game. They've allowed the fewest offensive rebounds per game. So even though they're a fast-paced team that isn't good defensively, they haven't been giving up a ton of rebounds. But at that price point, I really couldn't care less.
Oh yeah, I don't care at all about that. It's just a ridiculous salary. And it would be different. Hassan Whiteside should be 7,100 if he was still playing 27 minutes per game.
Right. If he was 7,100 playing 25, 26 minutes per game, it would be he can still go off at that price point, but his median projection is a little low.
Right. And he's far from a must play.
Right.
And in this, I mean, he's averaging 1.39 DraftKings points per minute this season. And you're getting games where he's giving you upwards of 35 minutes. I mean, it's a no-brainer here. Aaron Baines is a better defensive player than Ayton, but we also had word that DeAndre Ayton actually has a possibility of playing today. So
yeah, he went through shoot around.
Yeah, he was initially ruled out. He's been upgraded now to questionable. He did go through shoot around. So I don't know if he's going to play. By the way, he looks so much older than he is.
Yeah, it's Greg Oden syndrome.
It is insane. Yeah, he's got to be 50, but he looks a lot older than he is. If he plays, it actually, in my opinion, makes Whiteside a better play.
I agree with you.
Do you want to talk about, well, we have to, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, Melo right now is actually projected for a decent amount of ownership coming in at a pretty discounted price point. On DraftKings, you got him at 18%, one of the highest on the slate, 20% on FanDuel. And then our sponsor, Yahoo, you got Carmelo Anthony coming in at 16%. So he's up there.
Yeah, Portland's my favorite team on the slate, which is weird since they're not even really dealing with any massive injuries like some other teams are, but a really favorable matchup against Phoenix. They play fast. They don't play much defense. And the pricing here is, really fair. 8,500 for Dame is a really good price point for someone playing 37 or 38 minutes in competitive games. He's averaged about 1.2 DraftKings points per minute since Melo joined the team. Melo is really cheap. He should play 33, 34 minutes. Scal being out certainly doesn't hurt him because Scal was actually starting to get some minutes at the 4. So him being out could potentially give Melo a little bit more run. McCollum's really cheap. The Blazers are still staggering Lillard and McCollum's minutes as well. So that's made them both a little bit more productive. And then you get value in Kent Bazemore as well, who should be back in the starting lineup, should play north of 30 minutes.
Jojo says the guy dropped 100. Give him a shout out. We shouted out our guy at the very beginning of the show. Is the first thing I did. Shem also just gave us a super chat. He says, how many minutes are you projecting for Terrence Ross? That's a pretty good question if we didn't hit on it. What do you think? Minutes for Terrence Ross?
28-ish.
Yeah, I have him at 28. If he played 30 in this spot, it's not crazy, but at his price, 28 is perfectly fine. Want to close us out with Phoenix here?
Yeah, I think not nearly as appealing as the Portland side of it. It's still a decent matchup for the Suns, but getting healthier and price tags have kind of come up on guys. You have Ricky Rubio at 7,200 and Booker at 7,500 on DraftKings. They're not overpriced. It's just really tough for me to get to them compared to guys like Dinwiddie and Butler and even Dame on the other side of this game. So no real priorities for me from Phoenix. I think if Ayton's out and you get $4,900 Baines, that's an okay value, but the opportunity cost is still really high because if you're putting Baines in your lineup, depending on site, it means you're either getting none of the other centers or at most one. So not that appealing from a fantasy standpoint for Phoenix at their prices, I don't think.
Yeah, it's really not that appealing. I would say, when it comes to Oubre, the minutes are significant enough to say, all right, fine. I don't mind Oubre if he's going to give me 38 minutes in a close game. But outside of that, on DraftKings specifically, look at Devin Booker. I'll ask you this before we leave. You have him, Spencer Dinwiddie at a similar price. Would you rather have Dinwiddie against Minnesota at 77 or Booker at 75?
Dinwiddie.
So would I, yeah. What if Towns is out and Wiggins plays? Wiggins is 7,300.
Would I rather have him or Booker?
Yeah, or Dinwiddie.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Dinwiddie and then Wiggins and then Booker.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. I think Wiggins is pretty solid at that price point. He's underpriced across the board if Towns is out. Still a high usage guy, particularly with Towns off the floor. We just answered that, dude, Dinwiddie. All right, I think that'll do it, man. Hey, if you guys enjoy the show, the best and easiest way that you can help support us is just by hitting that thumbs up button. We do appreciate it a lot. It helps us out so we can keep doing free content. We appreciate you guys tuning in each and every day. And if we're not back, I don't think I will be. Hope you guys all have a great New Year. Stay safe. Stay safe. Don't drink any bad Gatorade. And we'll see you back here right after the new year in the new decade on the Deeper Dive presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports.
starting up now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Awesemo.com Live Before Lock show. Still got ourselves a 6-game NBA slate to kick off this other holiday week, 2 straight holiday weeks, which are going to make things a little bit more in flux than usual as we're going to talk about all the injuries and stuff going on. I'm Chris Spags, joined back on Mondays. Once again, the slender, svelte, really healthy-looking Josh Engelman. How are you doing, Josh?
Healthy looking. I'll take it, man. I'll take it. I'm pretty good, I guess. I'm kind of excited for this slate. It's gross, but I think we'll be all right.
Oh, and I'm Lofty D on the screen right now. So
yeah, I fixed all that already.
Oh, okay, I see. I saw it pop up, and I was feeling good. I was feeling more confident. I was going to start vaping on the show.
There you go.
Going to be a look to go on to. But you know what, guys, real fast shout out, of course, to fantasydraft.com. There's a lot of things to be thankful for this holiday season, but personally, I'm the most thankful for rake-free DFS, and I mean that with no sarcasm at all in my voice. So go check out fantasydraft.com right now, the official sponsor of this show, as many of the other shows we have on this channel. More importantly, they're offering you rake-free DFS on their site. All of the contest entry fees go right to the winners. Let's go to fantasydraft.com right now and use the promo code AWESEMO for your free 7-day trial and your entry into the world of rake-free DFS. And also one more shout out for our ownership projections and player projections, which you can get for yourself at awesemo.com/join. Use the promo code live before lock and get half off your first week on one of our weekly packages that you can get right now at awesemo.com/join. We also have express packages as low as $3.95 a week. So go over there right now, check it all out, get all this data because it's being updated as we talk because we have so many guys being ruled out. So Josh, let me ask you a question, I guess, that's a little more overbroad than we usually go with, but what do you think is the most important injury on the slate? Like what affected things the most for you? Because people will go to the Christian Wood play, Blake Griffin, doubtful there, no Markieff Morris, but there are a lot of other injuries. Bradley Beal being out to me makes that a much different situation as well.
I mean, if Karl Anthony Towns happens to be in, that is a massive change for this slate because there's plenty of money to go around, and that adds a stud to the slate. So if Towns happens to be in, I think that's massive news for just like the general lineup construction that exists right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. The Minnesota game is certainly an important one. Really one that ownership-wise is being mostly overlooked besides Spencer Dinwiddie, and that's kind of been the case the last few slates. I guess we've talked about this because we've done shows when this has gone on, but how have you been handling the situation, particularly on FanDuel, where we haven't known the status of Wiggins and Towns in particular a lot? Towns for like the last 7 games, we just haven't known what's going on.
I haven't played in like 11 days, essentially.
You were dead for a while.
So it really just hasn't been applicable for me. Normally, I'm like in these situations, I would have just had Towns out for most of this. And if something happened with Wiggins, like I just wasn't around for that slate, so I have no idea.
The cat is getting traded rumors seem odd. Like I feel like I've seen people mention that in the YouTube chat and not so much anywhere else.
It's okay. So he's not getting traded. That's silly and dumb. But Ethan Strauss mentioned that he is unhappy in Minnesota.
Can this guy ever just be happy?
No shit, he's unhappy in Minnesota. Why wouldn't he be unhappy?
But at this point, he should be happy. They traded his bully, Jimmy Butler. They got rid of him. He stopped getting swirlies in the locker room, stopped getting atomic wedgies, which are very difficult to pull off on a 7'1" man. I don't know, like he's getting all the usage he wants. Like, Ryan Saunders has some weird rotations, but they don't affect him. I just don't get how you could be unhappy other than, being in Minnesota, which is working well for our guy Jake. So I don't know why Karl Anthony Towns is bitching.
Exactly. If Jake can be happy, why can't Towns? But no, I mean, I don't blame him for being unhappy. I would want to get the hell out of there too.
The simulation pointing out another one of my verbal crushes in the YouTube chat. Take a shot every time Spag says, no, I think that's fair. I guess I do say that a lot. I think Lofty might do that too. I feel like that might be just us being hosts where we're like, I'm acknowledging your point and moving on.
Yeah,
like might be a bit of a yes and thing. In DFS.
We all have them.
Oh yeah, no, I know. That's one though. I do feel like that's my, I was like half paying attention or I tuned out or I just have nothing else to say on the point. But it's a fun week here. Fun week where you can point these things out for these short slates. All right. So let's talk about the injury that I think is most important then. Bradley Beal out again, his leg injury. Some limited sample size work for the Wizards guys without Beal in the lineup, just because Beal's in there so much. He's playing a ton of minutes for the most part. But Isaiah Thomas jumping out as a 2.2 fantasy point per minute guy and about 60 minutes of court time without Beal seemed odd. But then I thought about it. I looked at the Knicks game. I looked at the game logs too. And I was just like, okay, I guess he just shoots a lot more. He's still inefficient sometimes. He's still 5'5" or whatever. He's not going to get the best looks, especially against Miami. But I really like Isaiah Thomas now. Same thing for Troy Brown, Jordan Mccray. These guys all shot 15 to 25 times in that last game, which was terrible because the Wizards are bad without Beal. But are you going to be getting any more Wizards now that we know that we have no Beal out there and his gigantic usage rate?
I hate even talking about it because they're just so bad. It's just so much garbage. But yes, I'm going to be getting to Gary Payton on FanDuel 5,300. Troy Brown, probably my second most popular guy from the Wizards. That's mostly positional more than anything else. And then probably a little bit of Jordan Mccray at 4K. It's just really unappealing. I'll have some Isaiah Thomas, absolutely. He certainly stands out. Again, a lot of these guys are priced significantly better on FanDuel. I'm trying to temper my expectations for them because they're just really bad, and Miami is significantly better than them.
Yeah, no, I mean, they are significantly better. I do think, though, now that we have a lot of chalky Miami players, I think playing a build that assumes Washington keeps it close. I mean, look, if you're going to lose to the Knicks, I think it's still not a great situation for your team without Beal. Certainly, these guys are going to have a tougher time getting shots, but it's a time of low motivation for some players, as we're kind of seeing, I think, with all these guys going out. And I think Washington can keep it competitive. And if they do keep it competitive, rather, if they do keep it competitive, it's pretty obvious where that production is going to come from. I think it's going to come from Troy Brown. It's going to come from Isaiah Thomas in particular, maybe Ish Smith. But I think those two guys and Jordan Mccray would be the ones that I would really lean on the most. One question here, which I know people really love talking about this guy, so I feel like we should need to hit on him. Gary Payton, the rates there are unsustainable. His steal rate is about double what Jimmy Butler is. And Jimmy Butler, to me, one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. So Gary Payton, what are you doing with him? Because he's going to project well for people, but there's a lot of risk that comes with him, I would think.
Yeah, I'm going to have probably somewhere in the mid-30s of him on FanDuel for today. In my model, he's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy, so it's not even just about getting a bunch of steals over the past couple of days. This has sort of just been his, I don't want to say his talent level because that sounds kind of ridiculous, but I don't think that he's some 0.6 type character. I think that he's going to be able to fill up the stat sheet pretty well. Not going to get there from a usage perspective, but should fill it up otherwise. That's kind of scary in a matchup against Miami. They're not the type of team that's just going to be yakking it up all over the floor. But I'm willing to go back to him. The $6,200 price on DraftKings is a little tough sell. $900 cheaper on FanDuel. Much, much better.
Yeah, at his price point on DK, I mean, you're $400 away from getting to CJ McCollum. There, Evan Fournier, a guy I like quite a bit with no Aaron Gordon out there. He's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute player. Usage goes up to about 28%, and he's going to be getting really clean looks against Atlanta. I know some people like talking about the DVP stuff for wings. I don't find that to be the most relevant, but he's going to get really quality looks in this spot. So I'd rather go to Fournier over Payton as well. But I think he's worth taking some stabs with because he's one of those guys. I think people sometimes forget for fantasy purposes. Guy just does a little bit of everything. It's almost as valuable, and I'd feel more comfortable if he had more usage. But if he's going to get you rebounds, assists, and steals every time out, that's a pretty healthy little outlay for him, and potential as well if he just keeps getting big minutes.
Absolutely. I can't I have him, so I'm with you on it.
Are you feeling anything for Jordan Mccray or Troy Brown? Because those guys have been priced up a bit. Brown in particular, but the opportunity's been there for him, and Brown has been a pretty decent lead guard guy. Mccray kind of more of a scorer, but I guess he also does a little bit of everything as well. So either of these guys for you?
If Mccray were at a different position, I would find it easier to get to him. I just don't need to go all the way down at that spot just because of Christian Wood, because of, even Payton just ahead of him. That's not where my construction's going, although on a different day it could be. Whereas Troy Brown, mid-tier at small forward, there's just not a lot of small forwards. This is mostly a FanDuel thing again, but there's just not that many small forwards. So I'll end up with more Troy Brown, even though on a statistical basis, I think Jordan Mccray grades out as a better play. The roster construction of FanDuel just kind of limits that a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the same thing not same thing, but a little bit of a comparable thing with Mccray being a point guard, shooting guard, and Troy Brown being a shooting guard, small forward. Small forward means an uglier position where I'm playing a good amount of Carmelo Anthony today, which is fine. The spot's okay for him. And he actually had a decent day against Phoenix about 2 weeks ago. I'm going to get more minutes too without Scal in the mix. But I still don't view Carmelo as I'm really stoked to play him at small forward. So I think that's where Troy Brown gains a bit more appeal. How about actually, we got a couple questions here real fast. Elusive Smoke, one of the regulars, I feel like we just want to hit on this. You consider yourself the Jimmy Butler of DFS. That would make sense since Josh is the Karl Anthony Towns of Osmo, and you spend a portion of every day bullying him. First of all, I think we have more of a mutual bullying.
Yes.
Second of all, that's actually not a bad analogy because I have been a lot of locations and occasionally leave and with great enmity. So I'll take the Jimmy Butler of DFS. That's fun.
I'm cool with Towns, obviously.
Yeah. Do you want to be the Towns?
Yeah, I mean, that'll work. That'll work.
A great per minute guy. You're rangy. I think that's you could definitely do more if you would dedicated yourself, but you're still working hard and getting decent results. I feel like Towns is not a bad one.
I'll kill you.
And T McBee, one of our regulars too. Obviously, you guys aren't reading the New York tabloids. The Townsend Knicks penning a separate Morris for a third first rounder deal is obviously already done. So I guess there's a lot more trade wins about Towns than maybe I'm giving it credit for. I just don't see why.
T McBee is not serious. I mean, he might be like fake serious, but
yeah, there's reports. He's saying there's reports. I don't think he's actually serious.
Yeah,
no.
that's I think Rabosha wrote that one.
Yeah, I don't. To me, like I just don't think Towns gets traded right now. If you're Minnesota, I don't see the reason why you would do that. There's only so many guys. You have a different metric for these things, but he's a top 10, top 20 NBA talent. I think 20 if you're being conservative, but like you don't give up on that guy for just because he's.
There is no reason that the Minnesota Timberwolves should ever try to trade Karl Anthony Towns. However, if you think that that's the only way that you can get better, maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
Look, I can't imagine he's long for Minnesota, but he's still under contract for like 4 more years or something. It's going to take a king's ransom for something like that to happen.
I mean, there are a lot of people who thought that the Anthony Davis situation might open up the window for these guys to start looking at trying to get out earlier in their deals, because usually it is the last year of your deal or you're holding the extension over. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm basically 2 years out of my free agency and I'm just going to try to get traded. So maybe there is some credence to the rumors out there, and it is an odd absence the way that it's gone down. But I just wouldn't have a ton of faith in him getting moved. I would tend to think he's just got some knee issues that maybe are coinciding with this.
They'd be more likely to try to put more stuff around him first, and then if it fails, get rid of him before just blowing it up.
Yeah. I mean, they have 7,000 wings, so I don't know what else you can do to put around him. But
trade, not sign Andrew Wiggins.
That also probably would help. All right, let's talk about the Miami side of the Washington game, because this is also a very important one to discuss. Bam Adebayo, one of the chalkier plays on the slate on both sides. Jimmy Butler as well, picking up more ownership. There's now even more value out there, so Butler's ownership could rise up even more past the 31% that we had him at. So what are you doing with Miami? Because also, I like all the guys you'd expect here. I like Butler. I like Bam quite a bit. Those two guys have in a lot of lineups. Goran Dragic as well, I think, is a strong play. One guy who I know you're not going to be too stoked about, but I'm just going to throw him out there now. Duncan Robinson, I think people are really going to the Meyers Leonard thing, seeing that he played over 30 minutes last game. That was against Philly, which is a very different matchup. Duncan Robinson in this kind of spot, this is where he has those random outlier games because he just shoots threes at a really high clip. He shoots over 7 a game at a 47% hit rate. So I'm actually intrigued by Duncan Robinson here, but you might like Meyers. What do you like on Miami's side? I mean, besides the obvious guys.
Neither of those two guys. I like the obvious guys. I like the guys that should be liked, like Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and Goran Dragic. Sorry, I'm being a dick to Laffy. Laffy yelled at my pronunciation of Mr. Goran because I don't think about it and I fuck it up every time. So, Dragic, itch. It's an itch, right? Itch, Croatian, Serbian. I can't remember.
Yeah,
it's itch. Whatever. I don't care. I like him. I like him less than I like Bam and Jimmy Butler. Didn't expect to get as much Bam today as I did this morning, but now that we have so much value, it's super easy to pay up for Bam, even at power forward, 9,100 on FanDuel. At 7,600 on DraftKings, it's just stupid. Play a lot of him.
Yeah, look, I hate it because it's really obvious, but on a projection basis, I just don't really see how you get away from the Adebayo, Hassan Whiteside construction on DK, because those guys both are really just underpriced for the matchup. Bam's, I think, been over 46.75 fantasy points in like 8 out of his last 11 games. To be clear, that's not a top of my head number. I just know that because I had that in content earlier in the day. But he's been remarkably consistent with gigantic upside. The upside comes down a little bit because of Dragic being back in the lineup. He's probably not going to get to 70 fantasy points. But in this spot, like I find it hard to see how Bam would fail. And he had foul issues last game against Philly. That's the reason he didn't do well there. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fantastic spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the center matchup versus Washington is also one of the better ones in the league, and moving to Jonathan Williams probably not going to change that equation too much.
Lauri Markkanen expected to play.
Okay. Is he somebody you were looking at? Because he is a guy who I would think the deeper dive guys talked about how Zach LaVine might benefit from the 3-point looks, but this is something which I, having watched a lot of Bucks, and I think something which I guess I learned the hard way by playing a lot of people against Bucks. They don't give up threes to the guys you want shooting threes. They give up threes to the guys that they're willing to let guys shoot threes. So like Lowry is a guy who goes off against the Bucks a decent amount because they just let him chuck. Are you trying to get to Lowry? Are you trying to get to anything on Chicago?
I did have 26% on my last crunch. He's 5,700 on FanDuel, so I'm generally willing to take that sort of shot. I'm not fond of it, but at that price tag, there aren't that many power forwards that I think are viable today. I mean, we've got Jared Allen at 35% ownership in the chalkiest power forward. Markkanen is $300 cheaper. That's just like a pretty natural spot for me to flip them. I only have them separated by 1 fantasy point. So,
okay.
Towns out.
Who's that?
Towns is out.
Oh,
Wiggins
right,
out.
So Wiggins, I figured, but
Ooh,
yeah,
I thought Wiggins was gonna play.
No, I mean, if you're not at shoot round, like if you're just not even there, I feel like he must either be really sick or maybe he also wants.
I mean, if you're Andrew Wiggins, what the hell do you need to go to shoot around for if you have a bit of a cold? Stay in bed and show up. I'm sure you know how to do this whole basketball thing at this point.
Does he? Like, are we confident in that?
We're really gonna make him go to the arena at 1:00 for no reason? What are we talking about? Anyway, he's out. So anyway, I was fucking wrong regardless.
All right, so I guess now that we know that, what are you doing there? We have some guys who are going to take a boost upwards. Robert Covington shot a pretty good amount last game. He's certainly going to pick up some more looks on the wing. Shabazz Napier as well, really shot a lot as well. Ended up losing minutes to Jeff Teague because they didn't really play those guys together in the last game, which a bit of a turn. But what are you going to have more of on Minnesota? Obviously, Gorgie Deng, also the obvious play, but priced up enough where you might not land on him naturally.
I have no idea. I didn't look at. I've been treating Andrew Wiggins like he was going to be playing today. So, let's see here. I'm updating minutes on the stream as we're talking. So,
ooh.
Josh Okogie hasn't really gotten any sort of boost as of late. Napier will probably play 23, 24 minutes. Call it 24. Keita Bates-Diop, not all that interesting. Culver, probably afford to play like 4 more. Guess your boy Keelan
I hope people are appreciating this process, by the way, because like I don't think people get sometimes how intricate the process of creating a projection can be. Now I'm just looking at it on the YouTube screen, like, oh, like I forget sometimes you have a very fancy screen because I don't always look at it while we talk.
Yeah, like you don't just think like, oh, this guy's gonna get 25 fantasy points. Here they are. Like there's a path to this a little bit. Covington, I liked Covington a lot earlier today. That's only going to be firmed up a bit. Gotta figure Teague gets like an extra 2. Man, where are these minutes gonna come from?
I don't know.
1, 2,
I mean,
3,
look,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay,
make
so
sure
they played 10 guys on Saturday. Who am I missing then? Or did I count that wrong? Who is this 10th person? Oh yeah. Wait. Oh, I've been typing minutes into Keita Bates-Diop instead of Keelan Martin, so that makes sense. I was like, why is that not at 10?
I told Keelan Martin, do not forget Keelan Martin at minimum price. He's a pivot to these guys tonight, I think. Like I was watching some of the game the other day because I was like, what's Keelan Martin doing? And man, he's shooting. Like he didn't shoot that well in that game, but he's not afraid to shoot, and he's a rookie. Like I think people just don't know the name, so maybe people overlook. But
all right, so on my first look here, wrong team, Minnesota. Robert Covington stands out as my favorite FanDuel T-Wolf, with Teague second, Gorgeous Dong slightly third. No real interest in anybody else. On DK, it would be Teague, Covington, Culver. Culver only 3,700 there.
Okay. Yeah, we're waiting for a projections update from Osmo,
yeah.
So we'll see that. But yeah, I think those check out to me. I would like to see a little cross reference. I want to fact check you, Josh. No, I think those.
Travion Graham also ruled out. Now that gets kind of wild.
A lot of minutes to go around on the wing.
too many, some might say.
I mean, I would think this increases the probability or the possibility, at least, of having Napier and Teague out there together. Like, because they just split 48 last game. I think for the first time in a while, at least as I can recall.
That I wouldn't expect all that much. They have a never-ending supply of guys that can play like the 2, 3, and 4. I mean, the way that would increase those probabilities is because those two guys are like 2 of their 5 best players, and if they're actually trying to put 5 of the most talented guys on the floor, I could see it. But from like a rotation standpoint, I don't see it.
Like going against Brooklyn, that's the matchup I think where you can, like, because you got Dinwiddie and Temple in the backcourt. I mean, or Harris and Prince. Like, it's really not. It's not a size heavy lineup where I think you could go. If they wanted to, you could go small. I don't know if they will.
This is gross now.
It's a weird one. And it was already kind of a tough like situation for Minnesota's side anyway, because Brooklyn does play pretty decent defense, but I'd be more interested in Napier. Like, I'm intrigued by Napier at his price.
I guess Naz Reid's probably gonna get some minutes.
Boy. Look, they run deep. So anybody who's signed right now has the potential to get minutes with Ryan Saunders.
I just need to figure out how I have Naz Reid's name spelled.
He's NAZ, right?
Yeah, I think he has like no, he's just Naz Reid. I thought that he had some sort of like hyphenated weird basketball reference name. He doesn't.
No, I think he's just
Naz Reid.
Yeah, I made a names page this year, which I know like probably should do. I didn't do it for football, which has been a nightmare because every week I have to change names around and crap. But boy, for NBA, that really helps out. If you're making your own data sheets, I really can't advocate enough. Just taking basketball references names and pasting them in, and then just changing the accents to the ones on Fantasy Cruncher or our Awesome projections. Very helpful for shortening that process.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So people, I guess we kind of maybe talked about this in the beginning, but we should probably dig in deeper. The premium Slack, people asking about the takes on Christian Wood, certainly projects well as the best value. That said, given where his ownership is, which is more reasonable now, I still don't mind moving away from him just because I think there are decent power forward plays out there. And I do think there's value to get around there. Like, again, I do like Duncan Robinson. I do think guys like Keelan Martin are kind of intriguing. I think there are some other guys on that price point I don't mind taking stabs at and splitting that ownership a bit more. But what are you doing with Christian Wood? Because I really have no read on what you're going to do, and I didn't see the strategy show this morning. So what are you doing with him?
On my last FanDuel crunch, I had 82%.
Okay.
I expect to have a ton. He's a fantastic point per dollar play. I have him in for like 25 minutes. Very little downside to having him with both Markieff Morris and Blake Griffin out. I like him a lot more on FanDuel just because of the positional structure. I think it's not like he's easily the best point per dollar play of the slate. It's hard for me to pitch that as anything otherwise. There's also just not that many people that you have to pay up for. So on DraftKings, I think being around that 65% number seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there's always, Chip My Money was doing a pretty decent job, I think, volleying it back. And you were too in the premium Slack earlier that I saw where, people were talking about just pivots to Christian Wood. And I think Chip My Money, I don't want to misquote him, but I believe he said something to the effect of, I don't know why people are always looking to pivot off of good value plays or the top points per dollar plays on the slate. Yes. And that is Wood today. He's the best value. He's a guy who's been very productive, going to be less productive if he's playing alongside Drummond, but still probably going to see a good amount of minutes without Drummond. So, even against Utah, I think you have to take that stab a little bit because that's where the savings are. But yeah, I guess, do you want to chime in on that point at all? Because I know I feel like it's something that people really overthink a lot, but also like maybe aren't thinking enough in some ways. It's an odd little dichotomy.
Yeah, we try to talk about this a little bit on the reg. It's not so much that you're like trying to get away from someone. It's the guys that are at this salary tier that become so important because there aren't natural pivots. We have, I assume we have Christian Wood projected for what, like 28, 29 DK points, something like that?
I think it was, 29 in the last run.
Right. Like if you go up $200 or $300 in both directions, you're not finding another person that's like super close to that. It's miles away. So there are no natural one-to-one pivots. It's different when you have someone that becomes like 60% chalk. Let's say like Spencer Dinwiddie or something like that, where there are other like-priced guards in that range where you can just naturally be like, these two guys are close-ish. I can go to a different one at 1/10 the ownership. There aren't extra Christian Woods laying around, or at least there usually aren't. So jam him in. I understand why the ownership is what it is. I expect him to be pretty highly owned. I expect when we do the strategy show tomorrow and filter to the 150 max guys that Christian Wood has the highest ownership.
Yeah, and in high dollar tournaments as well, I would think he'd probably be pretty highly owned. So like, I just don't. It's a smart play overall in terms of how you're supposed to play DFS. That said, like, you know, if you were going to, on DraftKings in particular, I'm trying to think of the approaches I took, but like if you paid up for John Collins at power forward instead of playing Wood, and then you had like Bam, like if you filled your other spots where Christian Wood could be playing with different priced players, like that's a different line of construction in general. And that's something that I have no issue doing, where like if John Collins gives you 60 today somehow, I don't know, just throwing the number out, but like, and then Wood gives you 25, like that's, you have a guy there who's got substantially more points. And if you can get that same production in other spots, you're doing well. But I think overall, like I'd be thinking about it more like that. Like I wouldn't be thinking like as much. I wouldn't be thinking, oh, let me play Thon Mccray a lot because that's what people are playing Wood. Like
exactly.
That to me seems like a bad move.
Exactly.
All right. So yeah, so I just wanted to touch on that because I feel like we've been seeing this a lot lately. And sometimes, you know, I get the pension and I get what you see people winning in the tournaments. You're like, oh man, like they just didn't play this guy and they played this guy. But it's sometimes not quite that simple. And the way that Josh laid it out with, you know, just looking at the range of outcomes and the guys in the same price point and the opportunities they all have, it's hard to get away from Wood in that one perspective. Vonleh played 24 minutes last game and is 3,300 on DK. MPW 333 asks, do you have any thoughts, I guess would be the question part of that. I didn't get any Vonleh tonight, but I also think we had his minutes projected lower, so I think that could be part of it. But did you get any Vonleh?
No, I don't have much interest in Vonleh. I can't trust him in. I have him in for 20.
Yeah, I think we had him for 18, and that doesn't make him pop for me at all. Yeah, I don't know. I think he, like Meyers Leonard, I think just two guys I wouldn't necessarily buy in on the minutes increases quite as fully, though. Very possible Vonleh gets that run. I just, you know, if he gets 20, then you're boned. So I think that's sort of a thorny thing.
There's no real need to get that cute.
Morgan Smith asking, any Jarrett Culver thoughts for him possibly getting the start of the 3? I know you talked about this, but Culver in particular, does that do anything for you?
Yeah, I like him a lot more on DraftKings than I do on FanDuel. I would be happy to go there on DK.
Okay. Let me just look at that. All right, let's see. Any other good questions here? Keelan Martin popping a bit in Fantasy Cruncher. JCX5 says, thoughts? I have a lot of thoughts about it. I think that's a great play. I think I'm willing to take that stab above the field today. I like Keelan Martin. I went through his highlight reel because I was just curious about his performance and to see what he did. So yeah, I'm intrigued by that play. I think Josh, rightfully so, more skeptical as you should be.
A little bit.
Don't play a lot of them.
A little bit, yeah.
But anybody to me, like I do think guys just being unabashedly being willing to shoot is a skill. And I do think Keelan Martin, whenever he's seen extended court time, he's going to shoot. So whether they fall or not against Brooklyn, you know, very different equation. Let's go through some of these other spots here because I think Atlanta's worth hitting on as well. Another injury affected situation there. No Trae Young. John Collins last game had a high 30% usage rate, shot 26 times in that game. He's going to get as much work as he wants here, but Orlando probably can really put the clamps on him if they so choose. And also it's an under 100 implied total for Atlanta. So it seems ugly, but John Collins or the other Hawks for you, do you think anybody's going to benefit and be in your lineups a lot?
The only guy that I could possibly have is a little bit of Collins. I like him more on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings. On DraftKings, I don't get the sense that I would have anybody from Atlanta, including Collins.
Okay. I still have some Collins just because I do think on DK, I mean, under 10% ownership, it feels a little bit like paying up to be contrarian. And like physically, he should be able to match up with Orlando. Like they're gonna crowd him at the rim. They're gonna make it tough. But like I'm not afraid of him size wise against guys like Jonathan Isaac and Vooch. Like I think he can acquit himself well. The real concern though is that like they got dusted by over 30 points by Chicago. Orlando's actually a competent team, and you know Chicago doesn't, to their credit, they've been good defensively, but if that's what Chicago does to you, like Atlanta without Trae Young really doesn't have much to keep themselves afloat if Orlando's actually bringing it and hitting shots.
This is one of the worst spots that Atlanta could go into.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that and what, like Utah and Denver.
Yeah.
Denver
Philly.
would be not ideal.
Philly.
Yeah, Philly. There's it's definitely the lower tier one. But yeah, it's not a great matchup. For Orlando though, like I love Orlando's side, especially without Gordon out there. I talked about him earlier, but Fournier is a guy who's popped up a lot for me, and it was reassuring to see him that he pops up with Osmos projections. What are you doing with the Magic here? Fournier, Isaac, Vooch, Terrence Ross, who people are liking his value. Who do you have the most of on the Magic side?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question. If I had to guess, it's probably going to be Fournier. Vooch is going to be one of the three centers. Drummond, Vooch, and Whiteside are basically like all of my center exposure on FanDuel. But I would expect to have a little bit more of Fournier, 5,500 on FanDuel, 6K on DraftKings, just a better price there. Going to be pretty easy to get to as well.
Okay, yeah. So Fournier to me is one of my, I wouldn't say favorite plays on the slate, but he's a guy I have a lot. The field's also going to have him a decent amount too, but actually I guess that's come down a little bit. So he's not terribly owned, but I have about, I guess a little bit under 3 times the field on him at 14%. I just like the spot for Fournier. He shoots more, and I do think this matchup is one where his shot can fall. And Fournier is a guy I feel like whenever his price is at a certain point and he's getting that extra bump in usage from when Vooch wasn't in there, or for now without Aaron Gordon, he just shoots enough to make himself valuable. So I'd rather have him. I'd rather have him than Terrence Ross personally. I know there's a discount, but 10% more ownership for Ross seems like a lot.
That is a lot more.
All right. What other spots here do you find to be the most important? I guess Phoenix and Portland is one that we haven't touched on yet. And Portland's guys, I think in any projection system are going to pop for people today. The prices are very reasonable. Hassan Whiteside, we talked about his price a little bit earlier, but just a stupid price on DraftKings in particular, where I don't get how they came up with that. But Portland's side, what's the interest level for you in this game? Portland and Phoenix, I guess maybe you like Phoenix more. What do you think about it?
So for Portland, I've come around a little bit. I'm going to be getting a lot more Dame on FanDuel. There's just enough money to go around. Whiteside on DraftKings at 7,100 is it's just stupid. That's a really, really dumb price. So you should be playing a lot of him. CJ, I'm kind of nonplussed. Melo, I'm kind of meh. The two guys that I'd have 15 to 20% of, but Lillard and Whiteside are the two guys that are standing out to me most. And then on the Phoenix side, for some reason, Kelly Oubre is projected for 12% ownership on FanDuel. I'm probably going to have 50, so that looks pretty good for me right now.
Yeah, Kelly Oubre I got on DK a good amount too because of where his price is, where there's nobody really at that 7K range, especially no Wiggins out there now. There's nowhere to go in that spot. So I actually am with you on Oubre. Where are you with Carmelo? Because I'm baffled by how well he projects, but he's shooting enough to get there. And again, the lack of scowl should open up or at least secure his minutes a bit more. So what are you doing with Carmelo?
He looks fine. I think the 24% ownership or somewhere in that neighborhood looks pretty correct to me. I don't like him as much on FanDuel at 5,400, but I just have no look. The minutes are there. If you tell me that you like Carmelo Anthony a lot today, I can't disagree. I just know that he wouldn't be one of my most owned guys.
It's hard to view him as a priority, when he's in rotations with McCollum and Lillard. And Lillard is one of the better projected plays for me too. McCollum actually projected as a better value overall. So yeah, I think that's my concern with Carmelo is all these guys were in a good spot in that Portland lineup. And I don't know for sure that Carmelo is the one who meaningfully exceeds or achieves better. But yeah, I think on FanDuel to me at small forward, I just feel like he's there isn't a lot of great stuff at small forward today. Though I guess some of the value opening up may change that, but I'm willing to play Carmelo today because I don't love the position overall.
Ooh, we got ownership 4 minutes ago. That's exciting.
Oh, there we go. All right, let's see what's going on there. Also had a question in the premium Slack from BK. He's got 93% Jordan Mccray and 87% Covington. Is he crazy?
I would go ahead and start over.
Yeah, I'd say it's a lot of those guys. I wouldn't say anything's ever crazy, but I just don't see why you would feel the need to do that with those two players in particular.
Seems aggressive.
I mean, I know you in particular, you have no issue going over the field with plays, and I don't either. I will load up on plays that I feel confident in, but Mccray is a decent value play, and Covington, he's going to get some more opportunity without Wiggins and Towns, but they're not guys I would view lock-like in any way.
That just seems oddly aggressive.
It's a stance. Never gonna begrudge anybody taking a stance, but that doesn't seem like the best way if you're playing, especially if you're playing a lot of lineups. That's almost the opposite of too cute. It's cute, but it's actually not savvy cute in any way.
Good luck.
Yeah, no, if you're right, fuck it, more power to you. Also, guys, hit that like button real fast. And we did get that ownership update. So again, if you want to check it out for yourself, go to osmo.com/join. Use that promo code live before lock right now to get half off your first week. And if you could also want to go over there, check it out. Just take the little tutorial we have on there. It's a little survey that just asks you what kind of player you are and figures it out. And if you want to do that, we have packages as low as $3.95 a week on there. So if you are a more casual player who doesn't want to actually optimize with Fantasy Cruncher, go check that out right now. But either way, go to osmo.com/join and see what's going on. All right. Ownership is in.
I'm afraid to run a crunch.
I'm curious to see what you're going to get cruncher wise, because it's rare for me that like, I know my projections to Osmos are very similar. Like I make my own, a lot of us make our own in addition, just so we kind of have a frame of reference. And this is the first time I've had my optimal lineup was exactly the same as Osmos, which I was a bit of a jarring, felt really validating. But I'm curious to see what you get, because it does seem like, and I looked at some other projections too, it feels like industry wide, things are a little flatter projection wise than usual.
Wow, I'm not getting any Bruce Brown now. Didn't see that one coming.
I like Bruce Brown. I didn't play him today. What do you have against Bruce Brown?
I had a lot of him the night that I had a decent night, and it was like had nothing to do with him. I won in spite of him.
He's always got potential when the other guards are out, and especially when Kennard in particular is out. But this matchup, not the best one for the guards, and I think that's a bit of a concern if you're playing these guys. So I do have a little bit of Derrick Rose. I'm intrigued by Derrick Rose in this situation. Revenge game for Derrick Rose.
What?
He was on Utah for a stretch for like a game.
I can't even remember that.
It was I think last year he got traded.
Was he really on Utah?
Yeah, didn't he get released and go somewhere else?
I can't picture that. Knicks, Bulls.
Or was that when they got misvalidated?
No, he was in Minnesota, right? He was on Utah. Was he?
Maybe it was just rumor. I might have just misfiled that one in my head. Yeah, I might be wrong. I'll search it. We got an either or question from MC Grazza.
He was not on Utah.
I think he was rumored to be traded to Utah, and I think I just filed it in my head as being way. But no, he finished the year with Minnesota last year, right?
Yeah, I don't think that counts then.
I think things that just occur in my head should count generally.
Not so sure we should use that as a barometer of being correct or not.
Well, revenge games are wrong anyway. So
that's super true.
People are asking us basketball questions in every channel but the basketball channel today. Like general NFL.
Unbelievable.
You guys, this is the easiest part of using Slack. But Blazing Trails asking in the general chat on the Osmo Premium
in
Slack.
The what chat?
In the general, premium general.
Our genital.
So you just saw, the premium genitals chat, which you can get with a membership to Osmo Plus. If you already have Butler and Dragic, would you go Vooch or Bam on DK? Now he's also correcting me in the.
I would go Vooch in that scenario.
Yes. Well, yeah. I actually don't have a lean there. I don't think they're going to take away from each other in any meaningful way. But yeah, I would still go Bam, I think. But whatever. Any Rubio love on FanDuel? That's a more relevant question for you.
Any Rubio love on FanDuel?
That was it. Thank you, Steve. Derrick Rose got traded to Utah, then immediately got waived. I fucking knew it.
Yeah. He also definitely didn't play for the Jazz.
No, but he was there. It still counts. If you get traded to a team, it still counts.
It does not count.
Former Atlanta Hawk Carmelo Anthony disagrees.
Carmelo Anthony is also still wrong in this scenario.
He has a jersey from his Hawks stint in his house.
I mean, I have custom jerseys.
I think it's a little.
It wasn't actually on Liverpool.
Chubster 6'9" jerseys do not count the same as Carmelo Anthony having a jersey from his stint.
Oh God, not all that much Ricky Rubio on FanDuel.
Dragic or IT for a DK GPP? Man, I have more Dragic today, but I think I would favor IT just because he has the potential to do a lot more.
I want to see where they have them. I would go to Dragic.
Dragic to me is the safer play, but for a tournament, I would take a stab on IT. Why not? Let's see. Mccray or Napier? I don't know why I said that. Mccray or Napier for DraftKings.
Mccray.
Which would you prefer?
Mccray.
Yeah. I would also go Mccray. What would you cap Drummond at on FanDuel?
100%.
Well, you don't cap guys anywhere, right?
Right. I mean, There is. I can have guys at 100%. There is no limit to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind a spot. And it did jump out to me. I mean, there was an OT game last year where he had 83.5 fantasy points against Gobert. So that was, look, it doesn't matter that much, but it was reassuring to see that he's capable of doing that against Rudy Gobert. So, you would think that he'd be able to, just because of his size and his penchant for going pretty, full bore against any center in the league. But he's done it within the last year. So whatever.
I say this a lot, but Rudy Gobert's individual defense plays very little role in the defensive or in the offensive performance of the other center. He is stopping the rest of the team from doing what they want to do, not just defending someone one-on-one in the post.
Good point. Yeah. All right. Any other questions in here? You aren't on a team if they don't give you a jersey. I think in the NBA, if they are paying you for any period of time, it still counts. And
right.
with the waivers in particular, I think
Derrick Rose was paid $0 by the Utah Jazz.
You can't say that unequivocally.
I can. He was immediately waived.
He was waived, but if he didn't get claimed, then they're on the hook for some salary.
He was on a roster then.
But then that's just defrayed money. Like if he took the minimum after he got waived, they would still be on the hook.
Trust me on this one. He did not get paid by the Utah Jazz.
You don't even know he was on the team, so I can't take you that credit.
Because he wasn't on the team.
Mike McGinty, he was. If they had his rights, he was on the team
for 48 hours.
Mike McGinty, I missed your Giannis update. Percent ownership you have, he's still probable. He's playing.
According to Rose, he never even visited Salt Lake City. No, I didn't go. I was still in Cleveland. They allowed me to be there. My agent worked things out with him. He stayed with a different team.
Look, I think we find revenge to be specious anyway. I would still contend if the team had your rights and you were traded for by them, you were on the team. He wasn't a fixture on the team, but he might get a championship ring if they had won the championship.
Nope.
They love his contributions.
Nope.
Anyway, the point is that he was there.
Nope.
No problem with the Woods and Drummond line. Mike Baker asks. He's playing on FanDuel in particular, but do you have an issue with that? I guess I don't. I don't think.
I will only answer questions about Christian Wood if people stop saying that his last name is Woods.
Oh yeah. I think even your old pal Emac did that earlier, where he said
people are driving me insane. But no, there's no issue with it whatsoever.
His sister Elle Woods, though, very proud of her and her graduation from law school.
Bend and snap, man. Bend and snap.
The baller 2234 Spag stop. No, you stop. And in fact, one of us can control that equation. So take a timeout. Take a lap of the baller. Don't worry about what we're doing on the hosting side.
Okay, I just finished my crunch.
What are the percentage that you have there on that? Because I'm very curious today.
Let's see, 53% Dame, 48% Jeff Teague, which feels high. I'll tweak that a little bit. Quite a bit of Jordan Mccray, not so mad there. 40% Devin Booker, not so mad about that. 47% Giannis, which I'm not really thrilled about, but it's Giannis, so how mad can you get? 42% Oubre. 77% Christian Wood, 49% Robert Covington, and then 93% between Drummond, Whiteside, and Vooch.
So you're in the ballpark on that guy's Covington ownership. You're fine.
Yeah.
Half, but close. Hello World saying, how much Fournier is too much on DK? I have 100%. Still would not advocate for 100%, but no. I'm at 50% now of them in my final numbers, so I don't mind.
I would safely not have 100%.
No, Fournier is a guy who can miss shots. To be clear, like that's any guy who's like scoring dependent. Like if he misses shots and somebody else hits those shots, like you're boned. So never 100% for a guy who's very points dependent like Fournier.
He doesn't make his shots, and someone else makes their shots. You didn't get enough shots.
No, like if Terrence Ross goes off, like if you had no Terrence Ross 100% Fournier, it's not the best move. Even if you don't love Terrence Ross, like you just got to think about the other ways that goes and breaks down. Here now we're getting to it. Tori J in the YouTube chat: Keelan Martin or Wood? That's a tough question, Josh. Who would you prefer?
This is not a question whatsoever. You shouldn't even be comparing the two people.
For a tournament, if you're playing 150 and you played Keelan Martin over him in some lineups, I wouldn't mind it, but it's still like it's Wood. It's the median projection. The outcome is much more likely to be in Wood's favor. Let's see. Nothing good in the premium Slack. People again asking Wood and Drummond in the same lineup for FanDuel. One more time for the two more times you got that question is answering it on the show.
Yep,
Josh.
not a problem.
There you go, guys. Unreal. Zion or MJ? Tough question. Was any of them on Utah in their career? That'd be the question.
I mean, Michael Jordan owns a large piece of land in Utah.
Does he though?
I mean, he completely stole it from Karl Malone.
Oh, you were going with that, yeah. He stole it from Brian Russell with his weird spelled name.
Yes.
Uptown G, thoughts on Butler again, Spags? For me, so look, I like Butler a lot today. He's one of my better projected plays. I do think I have some concern with him in games that are like layup games. I just don't know that he goes full bore unless the game becomes competitive. So that's one caveat I would have. Still have more. Actually, do I have more than the field now? Get the ownership update. I'm still with the field at least with Butler. I think I'm a little bit above it. Yeah, I'm a little bit above it. But, there's some risk with him, I think, in a game that Miami can score other ways and they just don't need him to do things. But do you have any caveats or concerns with Butler at all?
I might actually not have much Butler, but let me look now.
Can you see the hidden chat in the YouTube that I'm not going to get rid of yet, but and I won't share on the show?
Let me look. I'm under the field on Jimmy Butler right now.
It's
oh my God.
If you guys knew the chat that I'm about to spam right now, you would understand why we sometimes are perplexed by the chats.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
He must just have been thinking about a British broadcasting company, I think.
I don't think so.
Lillard or Dinwiddie on DK, William Ban is asking. I actually think I have the same amount of both, but I would favor Lillard projection-wise.
Man, that was aggressive. It was incredibly
it's
aggressive.
So hard to not share it. I hate not sharing things, but that's one that's too far.
Yeah, no, that's not going to get us anywhere.
Did you have an answer to Lillard or Dinwiddie?
Oh, Lillard. Wait, which site?
DK.
Oh man. Probably Lillard. It's close. Coin flip and ownership is pretty similar. I would have a very comparable amount of both guys.
The real JETN says that I think that Eli was in San Diego too. No, but they owned his rights for a brief period. The NFL draft's weird though. You shouldn't have to wear the hat if you know you're getting traded. I can't even. I can't.
9 minutes to go. Get your lineups in, guys.
Yeah, it's like
I'm pretty happy with my exposures right now. I tweaked Teague down just a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I probably have more Jordan Mccray than I want, but Alex has him massively projected higher than I do, so it's hard for me to be so mad when I can get to as much as I did 4 points shy.
Would you say Jordan Mccray?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's my most owned shooting guard right now.
It's a lot of Jordan Mccray.
It is. But I don't know what I would have to do. Like, I'm massively below Alex's number and still getting a ton of Jordan Mccray. So I think I just have to eat it.
I would also think that you probably just have to eat it. I think that's he's going to get the work. I mean, he's going to get shots up, and he's one guy, at least on Washington's side, who's not fully priced up for the role that he has without Beal out there. So I think to me, that all checks out logically. It's just seems like he's going to be higher owned than even our last run of ownership because everybody's talking about Jordan Mccray in the Slack too.
I just trimmed just a little bit of the fat on the outside, but still massive amounts.
Here's an interesting one. Bam or Whiteside on Yahoo Cash today?
I have no idea what their prices are.
I'm going to look on this now. Whiteside, higher owned at 38. Adebayo, lower owned at 36.
Adebayo.
Yeah, I think I'd go Adebayo too.
Yeah.
It's close though.
I could hop over to Yahoo now and look at it. So Bam or Whiteside?
Yep.
Yeah, it would be Bam.
Also, Jordan Mccray minimum priced on there. So if you're gonna have 100% Jordan Mccray, that's the site to do it on. $10 for Jordan Mccray on Yahoo.
I'm pretty pumped about my exposures. That's usually a bad sign.
Who were you the most over the field on?
Probably Kelly Oubre. I mean, well, Christian Wood, but I don't think that's sort of the answer you're looking for. Kelly Oubre would be the answer for someone that's legitimate. Devin Booker as well.
Interesting. Booker, I mean, I get Booker, the price going up, and I don't know. I always just worry about the spot, but he's the forearm thing, I think, not being an issue is reason enough to go there, where that was clearly affecting him, and it's clearly not last 2 games since he got the sleeve off.
I feel like I'm a little light on Whiteside right now, too.
Don't be white on light side, though.
Exactly.
Fading Hassan and deleting DraftKings, Chris Hoop says. The one reason I don't think you should fade Hassan, but like there are center plays, like Vooch is more expensive and right in there. Like there are ways to get away from him if you really wanted to.
On DraftKings, it's a real tough sell. He's got a really dumb price. Right,
yeah, I agree. But I mean, like, if you didn't want to play, like we talked about earlier, you said you have 3 centers with Whiteside, Adebayo, and Vucevic. Like, I think if you throw in Drummond into that mix, like that's 4 guys. If you wanted to take the 2 of the lesser owned ones, like you can certainly afford it on the slate. And
Drummond is one of those centers. Bam is a power forward on FanDuel.
Okay. Well, on DK, I would think you can pivot away more so. And that guy's playing on DK. So I don't know. Like to me, there are 4 centers you could play there. And then that doesn't even count playing guys like Wood. Like if you want to play Wood at center, that's one way to get different. Like there's ways to do it.
I got Aaron a lot Wilson, of wood, that's for sure. Not a lot of woods.
Somebody made a morning wood joke on the Four Corners comments, which you should be watching if you're not, especially this week because fucking quiet week. All right. Nothing good question-wise. Thoughts on Colin on DK?
Collins is probably the person you're looking for.
Oh, okay. I was like, is he talking Colin Sexton? Because I'm ready to talk Colin Sexton, but I don't think he's on the
I think
slate.
you should ask again and not just the other 5 times that have been asked.
Oh, did he?
Nope. There it is again.
Guys are already out for Tuesday now. Important Warriors out. D'Angelo Russell, Willie Cauley-Stein out tomorrow. Oh, God. Never ends.
How big's the slate tomorrow?
It's a split one. I think it's like a 4-game main slate and then like 3 throughout the day. I think. Or yeah. And then New Year's Day, it's weird where all the games are early.
Let me look at it.
I just did a look because I was like, do I have to do a Four Corners tomorrow? And there's a 4-game main slate, so I think I do.
Yes. And there are only 4 games on New Year's Day. And they start at 6.
Oh, there you go. They want to compete with the bowl games. I respect that.
Yeah,
is 3 Miami guys in one lineup too much? Certainly not.
No, not at all.
I would say no more than 4, but 4 to me is I got 4 a few times and I don't hate it.
I'd be shocked if I had 4.
Well, you don't have Duncan Robinson, so it's.
I don't have any Duncan Robinson.
Oh, you'll rue the day.
I won't. I might rue the day that I don't have any Terrence Ross today.
Yeah, I'd have less Terrence Ross, but that feels like a bit of an oversight at his price point. On FanDuel, I think you can get away with it. On DK, though, you should probably have some Terrence Ross. Yeah, good value, but he really hasn't exploded. I think I was doing it on a show with EMAC, but he hasn't had a 40 fantasy point day this year. And I do think it gets to a certain point. Like he's still.
Thanks.
Did you not want that reminder?
I mean, now it just feels like it's definitely going to happen now that I said this. Look, Alex has Jordan Mccray projected for 9 more fantasy points than Terrence Ross. So I can only feel so bad.
That is a pretty big discrepancy. It's a very big discrepancy.
Yeah, when 9 is like 40% of it, it's a lot.
Jason Rosenberg, what is your favorite things to do when you are not dealing with us idiots? It's just a funny question. I don't mind dealing with you. It's very few idiots I actually mind dealing with. And even then, it's mostly just got to fill an hour somehow. And usually that's by being mean to people.
I don't really do anything else.
I've been playing a lot of Overwatch this holiday break.
I made homemade pasta yesterday. I got a pasta making attachment for my stand mixer, so I made homemade spaghetti and made some pasta yesterday. Fun.
What kind of pasta?
I made spaghetti. It was half semolina flour, half all-purpose flour.
Oh, okay.
Pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty proud of myself. I enjoyed it. I did it with some oil, garlic, crushed red pepper, lemon juice, parsley. I'm gonna whiff on the name, but it's like aglio e olio. But I don't know how to say that in the proper Italian terms to not make me sound like an idiot.
I'm actually Italian, or at least American Italian, and I know what you're talking about, but I won't dare pronounce it wrong. So,
It was pretty bomb.
One of my favorite scenes from Master of None, which kind of got ruined for me with Aziz's stuff.
That's next. That's next.
Oh, okay. So yeah, where the Italy tasting tour where they're looking at the pastas and they're making it seems fun.
I want to do his carbonara that he does. So I need to order some guanciale.
All right, we got seconds left to lock, guys. So get your lineups in if you need to do that. And also hit that like button if you already got your lineups in, because we survived another show, past 3K viewers for the show, which we appreciate on this holiday time period. So guys, hit that like button when you're here. Just whenever you come in, just hit the like button. It's like taking off your shoes if you're going to one of those anal people's kind of houses that make you take your shoes off. Just hit the like button when you come in and then get comfortable. That's the way to do it.
I'm happy with where I'm at today. I'm feeling confident. I'm gonna make some money tonight.
I've been on a pretty nice little NBA run, which the NFL giveth, the NFL taketh away on Sundays. Jameis Winston taketh and giveth away.
I know, and we've been given back miles for some strange reason now, which is terrible. So I wish the NFL would take that back.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for the playoffs, but yesterday's NFL, I had so many good plays and so many dog shit plays paired around them, which story of the NFL, but basketball, always a great time. And also basketball, an even better time over at Fantasy Draft, because that is one place you are not paying rake, and not paying rake is going to make your time always better in DFS. So go to fantasydraft.com and use that promo code AWESEMO for your free 7-day trial. And you're entering into the world of rake-free DFS, where all the contest entry fees go right to the winners. So go check them out right now for yourself and for us. And also use that promo code live before lock. We still going to have some Night Slate content coming up, Night Slate ownership. There are games going on all day long. And of course, games going on all holidays. So go check that out right now. All the New Year's Day stuff will have projections. We'll have content coming up. So just follow us right now. Go to awesome.com/join and get that premium membership right now with the promo code live before lock. Josh, anything you want to hit here? Actually, we should do Daddy Likes real fast, I guess. I just went to
looking up some FanDuel ownership.
I will pull the DK ownership for the mini year-end special, another uncreatively named DK tournament. I really still feel like they could just pay me to do this, and I would do it at very little cost, where I would name their tournaments and give them fun names. What would you name today's tournament if you could?
Bunghole Supreme.
That sounds like an order at Taco Bell.
I'm pretty sure I've ordered it at that point.
I would call it the between the holidays special. It's not my best one, but it's still better than the mini year end. So like the kill your dead time between the two holiday specials. You're not working anyway. Give us money.
The ignore your family spectacular.
Yeah, the heal from spending time with your family and not being able to degen. Now get back into the mix. All right, we got ownership. Josh, who do you think is the top owned guy on this whatever games we have right now? I think, is it just Miami? No, Miami game and the Atlanta game are both going.
I haven't looked at DraftKings fucking ages.
He's the me of NBA basketball.
I already forgot the gimmick.
It's Jimmy Butler. What's his ownership?
37.
48% for James Butler, which
a big number.
I'm
not good at Daddy Likes, man. I don't pay attention to this shit.
No, I hope people. It doesn't matter. It's just about the process more than the results. But I don't know. That's a lot of Jimmy Butler, and I would have some concerns that they just run away with that game, and it's not Butler. Butler just gets to hang out and relax. Moses, thanks, Moses Guthrie. I'm hired to do the DK tournament, so I've been promoted so fast. Number 2 on the list. If it were another Heat player, who do you think it would be?
Bam, for sure.
It is Bam at what number?
41.
35.1.
Shit.
It actually might be more fun doing it with you because you're like not even in the ballpark.
I haven't looked at a DraftKings ownership number since 9:30 this morning.
I think this is actually a more fun. Like I enjoy when Eddie nails it, and I'm like, wow, it's really impressive. But it might just be more fun that you're just gonna be high or low on all of them. It's like Guess the Lines with Cousin Sal and Bill Simmons.
God, they're so bad at it.
They've been like Bill Simmons doesn't get the concept of quarterbacks passing at higher, like at longer rates. Like there was something he was talking about where I was like, oh, he didn't get Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he's like, Ryan Fitzpatrick's a better quarterback than Tom Brady. I was like, I don't think, I know you're being hyperbolic, but that's not, he just throws deep and Brady's like throwing checkdowns every day. It's not,
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
it was on this week's pod. If you listen to Bill Simmons' podcast,
I only listen to the podcast to hear Cousin Sal make jokes.
Yeah, no, Cousin Sal, the podcast with him is very funny. The Parent Corner is very funny, but
Yes.
I feel like the sports knowledge has somehow regressed with some of those podcasts lately. Number 3 on the list, Nikola Vucevic. If you had to guess him, what would he be at?
31.
24.
Exactly.
Jordan Mccray, what's his ownership?
20.4.
24 also. And
I
then
didn't
right
say
behind
point.
him-
I didn't say point.
Actually, you know what? My bad. I rounded up. He's actually 23. So 23 for him. And then but a rounded down 23. And it's a rounded up 23 for Terrence Ross. So those guys, I feel like that's a lot of people's nights will be decided on who wins that one.
Fair
It's
enough.
interesting. Goran Dragic at 20%, Jonathan Isaac at 20%, Evan Fournier at 16%. So 100% Evan Fournier would be too much Evan Fournier relative to that. Gary Payton at 13%. Does that feel high or low to you?
Feels about right for DraftKings given where his price tag was.
Yeah, that feels like the right number. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher because based on people really being like, I've seen people talk themselves into Gary Payton a lot today and being like, yeah, it's in his blood. Like it's in his blood statement has been made a lot of times. And that's great, but that doesn't mean you're going to get six steals in every game. It seems a bit unlikely. Let's see. John Collins at 12%. That feels a little low. Troy Brown at 9%. Isaiah Thomas at 9%, or actually 8.5%, a little low. Markelle Fultz, 7%. Kendrick Nunn at 5%. Duncan Robinson at 5%. Okay. All right. Duncan Robinson believers. It's time to eat. DeAndre Hunter, 5%. Derek Jones, 5%. Tyler Harrow, 4%. Cam Reddish, 4%. Wes Iwundu, 2.4%. Jan Mahinmi, 2.3%. Kevin Huerter, 2.2%. Meyers Leonard, 2% flat. DJ Augustine, 2%. Kelly Olynyk, rounded up to Jonathan Williams, 1.4%. Alan Crabb, 1%. DeAndre Bembry, 0.9%. Is anybody going to play themselves? Bo Bamba, 0.8%. Alex Len, 0.7%. Ish Smith, 0.4%. That feels low. Pashniks, 0.3%. Bruno Fernando, 0.2%. Isaac Bonga, 0.2%. Admiral Schofield, 0.1%. Vince Carter, fuck, man. Bradley Beal, 0.01%. What did they do, Josh?
They played the wrong guys.
They did. That's as we all know. That is the phrase that we use.
Yeah. They played someone that's not playing.
Congrats. Good job. You didn't play a guy correctly.
You're gonna get a 0 for that. I feel like Norm Macdonald right now.
I enjoy it. I appreciate it. All right, guys, hit that like button before you go. Anything you want to hit on before we call it quits? What's tomorrow's show? I don't even know.
That's Tuesday's show.
I know that, but we have no Eddie tomorrow. Eddie's he's going to be unavailable because of his vacation. But do we know who's filling in yet?
We do not.
So it's Randone and somebody.
Yes, it is. I'll be on Deeper Dive with Adam at 5:00.
Oh, all right. So tune in tomorrow for Randone and somebody who won't be me because I'll be occupied. So watch that. But we'll see you guys again soon. We appreciate all you guys. If we don't see you before then, have a happy New Year. We still will have content going on tomorrow for the New Year's slate. Or New Year's Eve slate rather. So tune in all day long tomorrow. We appreciate you guys. Hope you have a great holiday season. Hope it's been going well. And we'll see you guys again soon. Good luck.